All right, and we're live. Hey guys, it's Nick. Thanks for tuning into the Warhammer Weekly. And this week we do have Once Bitten with us, and we have a couple different topics we're going to go over. First, we'll do some quick shout outs to different channels that are upcoming or that we've been able to take a look at. Dylan, you want to go right into that?
Yeah, let's just do that real quick. First up, we got Warriors Vault. He's fairly new. I think he has about in 10 or so videos up. This one,
Let's see.
okay, yeah. This one, all the armies are painted. He has good terrain. He has good narration, so it's definitely enjoyable to watch. I definitely suggest checking it out if you like all the models being painted. He loves playing Empire. He has a crazy unit of, I think, 8 demigryphs all in one unit. So that's always fun to watch. Just an overall enjoyable channel. I would go check it out. And it seems like he's pretty consistent with his content. So if you guys are interested in that at all, Warriors Vault. And then we have a shout out to Wahoo Warrior. We also did some reviews on his models. They were very excellent. He did some awesome dwarf pieces. This one is a two-parter. It has an awesome intro with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think. We would play it live, but unfortunately we can't bring the audio on. But he, too, is pretty consistent at putting it on. He has 17 battle reports up. So if you can give him some love and subscribe to him, that would help grow the community. And that's pretty much all I got to say.
And then one guy that I was talking to actually reached out to me as General Splatten or Splaton. We actually reviewed some of his models. I think Land of Mert might have posted some stuff that he bought through this guy. So he's got some different painting stuff and some reviews and whatnot. So I would check that out too. Everything's going to be available in the description below. And then before we get into the chunk of the chat, we just have some stuff I pulled off of Google Plus quickly. Some cool pictures that we can all chat about briefly. So Kieran Dunleavy, who's a good friend of the show, Once Bitten, have you watched any of his stuff at all?
I want to say that I've seen Malorian interview him.
Yes, he's in Malorian's area. He ends up doing a lot of the tournaments there.
Yeah.
So the one reason why I pulled this stuff down, the pictures aren't that great quality, but it's just the terrain I was pretty impressed with. I don't have too much crazy terrain like this. Do any of you guys?
Yeah. It looks like he's got like the big skull vein manse too. Archer's hiding in it. That's a great shot. That one.
Yeah.
You know, you were saying over a chat, Nick, that the painted models are nice, but the terrain is what brings it all together. And I completely agree with that. And are these painted, or did he just put them together? Are they like the plastic that you just buy?
The GW ones?
Yeah.
I think some of these are the GW kits. Some of them are just random ones. I can't figure out where they're from, but they just look pretty cool.
It's very cool. I know you've been doing some terrain stuff. What do you think?
What do I think about his, or what do I think about doing my terrain stuff?
Just terrain thoughts in general, I guess.
I think beautiful terrain it lends as much to the aesthetic of the game as nicely painted armies. I mean, look at that. That's really pretty. You know, yeah, it's tough. I've got a box of terrain that I bring out sometimes, but it's such a pain to haul around and everything.
Yeah, I was watching your technique. So you go red, yellow, and blue for every other brick. Is that right? And then you dry brush over it.
No, there's 5 colors.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's like a tan, a red, yellow, blue, and like a green, and then you just start highlighting and washing and stuff. And the shame of it is, I think my stuff looks pretty good, but the guy who taught me the technique, his stuff looks amazing. He's a game store owner it's just sick. It's so beautiful.
Did you go crazy when you're doing the bricks? Because it seems pretty tedious.
Yeah. I haven't touched. I got like a third of the way through the project, and I just put down the paintbrush. It's been what is it, May? So it's been 5 months. Yeah, so it'll be there next winter.
Yeah.
This is the last picture that Kieran had on his post. I really like the phoenix at the angle here. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
one thing
looks
about
nicely.
one thing about Kieran is he's an awesome hobbyist, and I really appreciate that the sentiment of detail that he adds to everything. And that's really cool that it's just an abnormal pose that you normally don't see.
I also think that's easier to fit on the field because I feel like every time I see a phoenix, it's usually like off the base and like to the side because it just doesn't rank up against enemy units.
Do you think that helps it from breaking too?
I think so, probably. It looks awkward, but I feel like that's probably a better idea, to be honest. But the next one, so that was Kieran Dunleavy. The next one, this guy posted, his name was Chance Encounter. I was pretty impressed with this. I'm sure as a Bretonian player, OnceBitten, you could chime in. It's probably a heroic killing blowhorde. It's just a lance through a freaking high elf dragon head.
That's awesome.
I thought this was really cool. I was super impressed with it. What model is that? Is that the Green Knight model?
That's totally the Green Knight.
Yeah.
Just a really crazy idea.
Yeah, see, if we get stuck in positions like this where the models are so well painted, we don't know quite what to say other than this is freaking awesome. Like he even did the jewel there. I really like his attention to detail with that. And I like how he did something completely different with the Green Knight model.
Sorry, did you say he's got dragon drool?
The jewel.
The jewel.
It's like, now that's attention to detail. They have the tongue hanging out of the mouth with a pool of blood. That's awesome.
All right, so that's all I got. So I guess the first thing that we can go over, which was something actually OnceBitten kind of came up with, was the different player experiences. And the three categories, I guess, that he had broken them down to is the people that played just for fun. We have the tournament players, and then we've got the battle reporters. So what were you thinking when you came up with these classifications? Or
Well, I don't know. I think I was just wondering if it's a different overall experience, like why people come to the game and what they get out of the games, what they're thinking about, when they're engaged in the hobby, if they're those three different things. Because I've been all three of them, and I think I don't know if I've evolved over time because I've changed what I'm playing for, or if it's just because I've just been doing it long enough that it's changed.
Okay.
My question for you, Obi, is have you ever done something in one of your games purely because you knew you were going to be reporting it and you wanted to make it as epic as possible?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I finish games that otherwise I'd rather just pack up my stuff and go home because I'm like, I gotta report this. Yeah, and then there's, especially with the campaign, there was a lot of that going on. A lot of just stupid, like, I'm throwing the game away right now, but if I don't do this, it's going to totally screw, the purpose of the campaign, trying to go for stuff.
Yeah, like, I need to break that lance unit, but if I can do this charge, I'm for sure going to lose combat anyway.
Yeah, something like that.
So, you and Nick both are battle reporters that go to tournaments. What's that like? Is that pretty... Do the other people get frustrated at all, or does it go pretty smoothly?
Nick, you want to go first, or you want me to go?
Sure. No, I'll go first, I guess. I kind of snap pictures as quickly as possible, but I haven't had anyone that's frustrated. For the most part, as a battle reporter, people are like totally into it, or they just don't give a shit. A couple guys that I've asked are like, I'm like, can I take pictures? They're like, yeah. Like, they were insulted that I even asked because I guess the models were so well painted that I'm like, can I take a picture? And they're like, of course you can take a freaking picture. But I mean, no one seemed to, nobody's like, oh, please don't report this or anything. But it hasn't been an issue for me, at least.
I don't think it's really been an issue for me. I've had one guy who's become a very good friend tell me that, not in tournaments, I played him just at the game store, that it really irritated him when we first started playing that I just kind of assumed it was okay that I took pictures and reported it. And it's probably true because I always ask in tournament settings, but I never really ask in friendly play. I just assume it's okay. In tournaments, I've had one guy I've learned about after the fact. We had a game. I don't know if you remember this. It was I was getting crushed in a tournament. It was like game 4 game 4 of a tournament. I'm getting crushed by the old Lizardman book, and but then the game ends because we ran out of time, and I still had all my points because he didn't actually kill the units completely. And he was, apparently, I found out later, he was livid, absolutely pissed, said that I slow played by taking pictures, and that's why we didn't finish the game. And yeah, that's the only time that's happened. I don't think it was true, but I felt bad nevertheless that's his perception.
Yeah, I found when I was doing some reports too that it's all your opponent's mood. Like I had a guy that was already, it was a little 3-game tournament, but he was in his last game and I think he had lost the first 2. So he was like, "Do you mind if I take pictures?" And then I start winning, and it just, yeah.
Yeah, I had one dude that I used to play. This is back when vampire counts were overpowered, and he brought just the toughest list ever, and it was a real tough game every time I played him, and it was always a big deal for him if I posted a report that he, in which he lost. So 8th edition comes out, and I go over to his house, we play a game, and I'm taking pictures, and he knows I'm going to report it, and I win, and then we set up just to play another game, and he's like, "Dude, don't take pictures. I want to be able to learn this edition without it being posted to the whole internet." And at the time, I probably had like 600 subscribers, right? I mean, like this isn't exactly the whole internet. And,
Yeah.
Anyway, so that second game, he crushes me. He was so pissed. So,
Well, now at the point that you've got so many subscribers and viewers, have you ever had any opponents of yours get completely offended by just what the world is saying? Because I know that happened to Malorian. I didn't know if anything similar has happened to you.
well, I mean, obviously when I'm playing them, they don't know what people are going to say, but afterwards, people say a lot of mean stuff, and they say it to my opponents much more than me, because a lot of times, they're a fan of the channel, or else they wouldn't be watching. And I don't know, man. I try to downplay it with people like, yeah, I mean, that's the internet, and they'll say, "Oh, that guy just, he relies on the list," or, as if we all don't rely on our list.
Yeah.
So
That's not the point of the game.
Yeah, I have a lot of rude things said to opponents. But I don't know. I guess if they rip on the guy's list, that doesn't bother me too bad. I think like if they say, "Wow, what a horribly painted army," I'm like, well, that's not cool. I mean, he's not a good painter. But yeah, as a battle, when I show up anymore to tournaments, a lot of I remember it was just a couple years ago when the very first person came up to me and asked me if I was once bitten, and I thought it was the weirdest thing ever. Like, wow, this dude's heard of me. Like, I am nerd famous. Like,
You're gonna have to buy bodyguards and
right, yeah. Anymore, I'm more surprised when I have games, and I would still say most of my opponents have never heard of me, which that probably sounds bad. I'm just saying it's gotten to the point when I show up to tournaments where a lot of people come up to me to say hi. I'd say most of my opponents still haven't heard of me, and they're cool with me taking pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's more pressure on it. So this idea of like, what's the experience just for fun or for tournaments for battle reporters? It's been so long since I've played just for fun that I don't even know if I can speak to that anymore. But certainly, when you go to the tournament, I think it's very tempting to be a little bit more oriented on winning, and not so much. I don't know. It's like I find that I get more genuinely angry when the dice go against me, as if there's this Warhammer dice god that just has it out for me. And in a fun game, it's bad enough, but in a tournament, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It's like your Beastmen game last time. You shall not charge.
Yeah, stuff like that. That was a friendly game. If that was a tournament, I would have been pissed. In that game, I'm just rolling my eyes like, oh my gosh, yeah. If it's a tournament that I care about, because it's like one game screws you,
Yeah, for sure.
And don't you normally pay to get into most tournaments in the first place? So you kind of need to get the competitive outlet, I
Unless you just feel like tossing money away. Of the people at Brawlers last year, do you know how many were battle reporters?
I don't know. I really don't. I mean, obviously Malorian and Anthony were there.
I think there's one more. I think the username Tuna Sandwichify or something. That guy's popped up once in a while. His name is Tuna Fish or Tuna Sandwich.
Yeah, I've seen that name.
Yeah, I know. I think he does reports. I think he actually played Anthony, maybe. But do you see yourself being more of a tournament player or a battle reporter if you had to pick between those two categories?
I'm more of a battle reporter. I mean, I really like tournaments. I mean, that's my just for fun games are only fun because I feel like I'm preparing for a tournament. I mean, I just really like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm probably a better battle reporter than a tournament player. I'm a good player. I'm not an awful player, but I'm not the best one out there. So, yeah, I don't know. And it's funny because it adds more pressure to the game sometimes. It's like if I do something stupid in the middle of the game, I'm thinking, God, how am I going to explain that? Oh, jeez.
Now, how about this? This might either be a tricky question or have no answer. Did you become a better battle reporter from being a tournament player, or did you become a better tournament player from doing battle reports?
No question. I became a better tournament player because of battle reports. No question at all. I learned a lot. I learned a lot more from reviewing the game, reviewing the photos, remembering what happened. There's been a lot of times where during the game I thought, oh my gosh. Where during the game I thought.
Sorry.
Anyway, there's been plenty of times where during the game I thought, oh my gosh, I was so unlucky. And then later on when I reviewed the pictures, I'm like, no, you made decisions. And, So I think the process of making the reports has helped me, and I think the feedback I get from the comments people leave on YouTube are eye-opening. I mean, I see the game my way. They have a fairly distinctive way of approaching the game, and a lot of times people will make a recommendation or point something out about what I do that just would never occur to me, and so I think those things have made me a much better player. The other thing that's helped a lot is the thing that helps I go to tournaments is just playing a much wider variety of people with different play styles and different army builds. Go ahead, Todd. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Hold on. Almost lost it. Might have lost my question. Someone, fill space.
In the tournament scene, how often do you fight people that you just can't stand? Or play you just can't stand?
So can I really answer that question?
Yeah. No, I'll answer that.
I don't know. Is it a loaded question?
Whenever I run into Malorian.
I honestly can't think of anyone. Knock on wood, I'll probably run into one now that I've said that. I don't know. I'm the type of player that, like in local gaming groups, how a lot of times there are players that other players don't really want to play very often. I'm the guy that I'm the guy that I don't care. It just doesn't bother me. I'm pretty open-minded. The thing is, I try to be empathetic because I think that there are times when I've come across as kind of a jerk in a game. I try not to be. I try hard to be a nice guy, and sometimes I just get in a pissy mood.
That's the sportsmanship score.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's one of the things that you start learning when you play more games. You have to be more conscious about how you're acting in the game because you're spending so much time and money on it. It's hard not to be emotionally invested in these models that are just dying off the table. It's like I just spent $70 on this model and 80 hours putting together this whole army, and now it's falling apart over one turn. It's hard to be emotionally invested in that.
I did remember my question. You often comment in your battle reports, like crunching the numbers. It should have been okay. Do you do a lot of that math hammer stuff before games, or is it after when you see something and you're like, I feel like I should have done better? Do you go back and kind of see how you should have done?
I do. When I play games, I'm always doing math in my head. I'm really quick at it for the most part, and I don't need exact numbers. I just need to know ballpark. And then, so if I feel I did a lot worse, I never feel like I did better than I should have. Right? If I do better than I should have, I'm like, oh yeah, that was just really general shit.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
But otherwise, when I think that I should have done a lot better, I'll go back later and do the math and see if I was right or not. I don't know if you guys have watched Malorian's recent video on the numbers. I thought that was really, really insightful. He basically said, for anybody watching that didn't see it, he said, let's say you're planning to move out and it's 80% chance, for instance, 80% chance it should work. He's like, yeah, but 20% of the time it's not going to work. And so when it doesn't work, you feel like, oh my gosh, that was just the worst luck ever. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was 1/5 of the time it shouldn't work. Shut up. And I tried, and so since then I've shot things with my cannon, rolled a 1 to wound, and I've said, Chad, 1/6 of the time, 1/6 of the time, that should be it. So
yeah,
anyway,
once per.
Anyway, you guys have any thoughts about the player experience of Just for Fun tournament versus Battle Reporter?
Well, Dylan, what do you think you are?
I've definitely played for fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to make myself go in to the game just thinking I'm playing for fun, and I also find that I do better when I'm not putting the pressure on myself to win. And I don't know if that's just a mental thing I have to do for myself or if you guys implement it as well, but I just feel like I do better when I'm not putting myself under pressure.
Well, when you've gone in with as many practice games as OB and Nick are putting in before the tournament, I feel like you don't need the pressure. You know what you can do. You know your tricks. Like, I know how to redirect. I know how to do this. As long as I follow that routine, like it's practice. So and the more practice, the less stressful I think it would become.
Yeah.
Every time I see a Nurgle Demon Prince, I still choke up a little.
Well, Tyler, what do you think you are?
When I'm doing a report or like against certain players, I will be a Just for Fun, and against players that I know are a little bit more experienced, I put that tournament kind of helmet on. But if I have a lot of friends in my local gaming group that are not peak form kind of thing, so I don't want to go in there and be doing all my movement shenanigans that they haven't even seen before. They're like, what are you doing with that fast cav? Well, fast cav can reform on the march. Like, I didn't know that. Like, we'll read the book. Like, we've been playing for 2 years now. Come on, guys.
It's always hard to see their soul crush in their eyes when they didn't know the rule existed. They're like, what? You can shoot over dogs? Oh my god.
For myself, I think if I had to pick one that I'm not, I don't think I'm a tournament player. I mean, I've gotten to a few, and I think I do it because it gives me battle reports to do. But I mean, the most recent one I went to, I brought the worst possible list ever, and it was what?
It wasn't the worst. If you won 3 games, it's not the worst.
I don't know. If half the list was slide belchers, I think I should have lost all 5 games, but that's besides the point. And I had no BSB, which means I should have lost also. But anyway, that was a just for fun list that I did at a tournament so I can make battle reports. So if I'm in a mixture of all 3, so be it, but if I wanted to win tournaments, I would bring the stupid, overpowered lists that you just Google find and run. So but that's my thoughts. So
do you think that happens more than often? You guys, do you think internet lists happen more than often, or is that just, do people actually come up with the same list?
It depends on the person. A lot of people can find the best parts of the book if they look and see a Demon Prince is unbreakable, and they find out that they can regenerate wounds by taking Soul Feeder, and then they finally end up with being -1 to hit. Yeah, that's like a Nurgle Demon Prince isn't hard to build. When I first looked at the book, I came up with something quite similar. I don't know if I had everything locked in at the time, but once you realize, okay, well, if I'm flaming, then I'll take my 2+ war, and I can just go pick a unit, right?
And the Warriors monster list, the one that Anthony ran for a while, is just like that list that you will find on the internet somewhere. If you want to just destroy someone, here's the list that you need. And like, if you show up with that list, you're the guy that's got that, list that's been perfected and really brought down to a science by people all over the internet.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like that happens more than often at tournaments?
At uncomp tournaments, absolutely. I don't know. I don't want to take credit away from people. It's an optimized list. There's a reason it's working, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I never feel like I'm that guy, and others have accused me of it. The Empire list. Every list I play is like, I see its weaknesses. Like, I would love. What is the net Empire list? Please let me know, because I'm sure it's out there and people say what it is, but
yeah. There's a couple Empire ones that we seem to be seeing a lot. It's 1-up spam and then the Light Council. Are you thinking you might be running a Light Council, or are you still not decided what army's going to Brawlers?
I'm not completely decided. The Light Council is what I used at the end of last year, and I did really well with it. So yeah, it's a strong list. There's no doubt about it. Has its weaknesses. I've been playing around with the Carl Franz, just him alone, and two units of demigriffs. I'm like, I'm going to be a jerk. I'm going to be two units of demigriffs. They die every game. I'm like, why can't I play these guys?
Yeah, when you see other people's lists, they just kind of throw them into anything, and they just plow through, and you're like, okay, I can do that. It doesn't work the same. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm curious. On that note, I mean, what's the one build that you fear the most? If you're going into a game and you wanted to win it, what are you worried about facing?
Depends on what I've brought. Because of my fear of demon princes and that whole Warriors of Chaos list, I think subconsciously I've kind of been building my lists with that in the back of my mind. So, like, I'm building my new Wood Elf lists. Well, I can take any lore, so I might as well take a level 1 metal just in case I run some Skull Crushers or something. And then, yeah, that's one that I always kind of cringe a little, just because it has that opportunity with that Demon Prince to really ruin my day.
I think right now, since I'm going to be running the Scaven a lot, it's just any army that matches in body count. Like, when I get up against freaking undead and there's so many zombies and ghouls and shit, that's the only thing that I've been having an issue with. But
what about Dark Elves running Dark Magic, where you can't use your Inspiring Presence or Hold Your Ground?
I haven't played too many Dark Elves to have an opinion on it right now. But
and Wood Elves get it too now.
That's true. But I get the opposite, where, you know, when you can ask that question that OnceBitten asked, people sometimes, at least near me, say, well, it's just Skaven in general. If someone brings Skaven, you know, I just don't want to play them no matter what they are. But I have to agree with him. I know the weaknesses of the list. Skaven aren't invincible. Yeah, are they ridiculous at times? Yeah. Do they have wild cards where you roll that 1, you know, your Fire Thrower blows up everything around you, Strength 5? Like, yeah, it happens, but there's plenty of weaknesses, and I feel like if you know the army well enough, you can take advantage of it and exploit it.
For me, I think I still am afraid of the High Elf Monster Mash list. I don't know. I don't know how I deal with that. Like 2 Frost Phoenixes and a Star Dragon and like Griffins and Eagles flying around. That just intimidates me because they're so fast, and I wouldn't know what to counter with.
Cannons.
There's only so many cannons, though, you know?
What about you, OnceBitten? Is there a particular list that you cringe at?
Well, I've been losing a lot lately to the Warriors of Chaos Monster Mash list. Demon Prince, 2 Chimeras, unkillable stuff. I think I fear... God, I fear somebody bringing a horde of Executioners and a horde of Witch Elves with Hellebron and just everything kitted out. I'm like, I spent probably about 2 hours a day as I was doing, like, driving kids around and stuff, wondering how on earth am I going to deal with that if somebody shows up with that. I have no idea. Like, you know, they're hard to kill. They kill everything they touch. You know.
Yeah. How many redirectors do I have in my list? I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, and you know what? They have more redirectors and better redirectors than you have.
Yeah.
So on that note, do you think that the Wood Elves are going to change your mind on anything or change your list at all? The new Wood Elves? Are they even going to be allowed in the Brawler Bash? Are they going to use the 7th edition book?
Ben, the TO of Brawler Bash, has said that you can use either Wood Elf book.
Huh.
Really?
Yeah.
I can see that as getting confusing.
Yeah.
Well, what's the benefit of using the old one?
Yeah, who's going to bring the old book? There's nobody going to bring the old book.
You could go 2 games and have one guy with his toughness or strength 4 Treekin, and then you go against another guy who's got strength 5 Treekin. So you got to be careful.
Yeah. You know, I actually bought the book and I thumbed through it, and I'm not one of those brilliant guys that can look at a book and automatically know what's overpowered. My brain doesn't work like that. But when I was looking at it, it seemed to me that Matt Ward and Games Workshop, they just love Dark Elves. I mean, Wood Elves are like Dark Elves light. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
So it's not going to change anything I do. I think I think some people will bring it, and kudos to them, and I think they could surprise people, and I think that's a big advantage if you can, just that element of surprise where, they don't know the paper, scissors, rock. They don't know how to match up necessarily.
Yeah, see, I feel like that would be me because I never see Dark Elves or anything like that around here. It's just more or less the standard armies like Warriors of the Chaos, High Elves, Empire, that kind of stuff. What were you going to say, Tyler?
I'm missing playing against Dark Elves and then the Undead armies. Pretty much everything else is represented somewhere in my gaming group. But I'm looking to, there's a Tuesday night's Warhammer that I'm looking to start going at a local game shop, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll get some more reports out of that.
All right. So, Tyler, I know you have the book and you've played around with the Wood Elves a little bit, and OnceBitten you've looked at it. Malorian had a pretty strong stance that the Wild Riders are no good. Do you guys agree or disagree?
I understand. Like, I spent most of my day, I think, arguing on comments on Malorian's channel. Like, there's there is definitely something to say about having frenzied units, and that they can, at max, have that 4-up armor save with the 6+ ward. They are not very defensively built, so yes, they can die to shooting, and yes, they can be redirected, but it's more just that the shock cavalry kind of idea of the amount of damage that they can actually put out with their 3 strength 5, weapon skill 5, initiative 5, always strikes first. Like, there's a lot of damage that can be done with and it's armor piercing too, so a -3 to the armor save can do damage. Just can you get your Wild Riders there? And I'm going to keep using Wild Riders in my list. I like the idea of them. I like the model, so I'm going to keep trying, and I'll see what I can get working. Eventually, I'm sure I'll get led around by the nose, but because they're only 130 points for 5, I don't feel like that's a huge investment. If they can hit the target I want them to, awesome. If they don't get there, still only 130 points.
Right. It's not like your Witch Elf horde is like being baited around. It's just a small cavalry unit.
Yeah.
But what unit do you want them to hit?
I don't know.
I mean, because it seems to me that they're awesome against anything that fast cav would otherwise charge. They're gonna kill it. They're gonna be fantastic. But yeah, I'm not gonna throw them into anything that's gonna win me the game.
Yeah, I wouldn't hit any ranked up units, but with lots of Eternal Guard being stubborn, then and potentially even looking to use the War Dancers with the 3+ ward to kind of soak up one charge and then countercharge in the flank with the Wild Riders potentially.
Okay.
Just for an influx of, if I'm using 5 of them, that's 15 always strikes first, strength 5 armor piercing hits.
Yeah. No, I like them actually. I mean, the whole army is fragile, and so it's like, could somebody shoot them? Sure, they could, but they're not shooting Eternal Guard. I mean, they're not shooting something else. So everything in your army, if it's good, is going to get shot at.
Yeah, for sure.
But they can't shoot at everything. So, yeah.
Their stat line kind of reminds me of the Vargeist a little bit. And being an undead player from time to time, I know that their frenzy and they're kind of the glass cannon as well. They do die off pretty fast, but I do think there is things that they're good at. Like
you must be playing a different Vargeist than I'm playing.
Vargolf.
Vargolf. Okay. All right.
The Vargolf, the
Vargeist. The Vargeist.
The flying frenzy ones.
Yeah, the flying frenzy ones. Yeah.
Flying frenzy monstrous infantry are like Wild Riders. Okay.
No, I'm just strength 5, similar attacks, and they're frenzied. That's what I was basing it off of. And they have relatively no save against shooting either, so they're singled out pretty easily.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, toughness 4 with no save. The Vargeist.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They do always have always strike first, don't they? The Wild Riders.
They do have always strikes first.
So yeah, I think they'd be awesome chaff killers. I mean, or even help.
I've got a ton of shooting that can also clear chaff. But I don't want to waste my shooting. If I can throw the withering on something that's important, and then with the Way Watchers ignoring armor saves and drop it. That's what I did against the 1-up armor save Demon Prince the other game. So like there's I don't want to waste my shooting on clearing chaff, and the Wild Riders should be able to just punch right through that and just hopefully not get redirected far enough out of play. But with movement 9 fast cav, they can. Oh, you pulled them out. Next turn, they're already lined up for the next charge, like 20 inches away.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Are you anticipating a lot of Wood Elves at Brawlers?
I'm not. I'm at let's say we're at 110 players, so I mean I would expect to see, 3 to 6.
That's all, huh?
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of armies to begin with, and I think a lot of people. I don't know how many players have Wood Elf armies sitting around because they've never really been given
But
a lot
that's
of
what I'm
love.
saying. A lot of people could have them sitting on the back burner now that the book's out. You could see 20 players for all you know.
Could, and I've been wrong before.
Be sure to bring magic missiles.
Yeah.
So, I guess anything else on Wood Elves before you guys want to move on?
No, not too much. That just kind of, just wondering if you thought that might adjust the tournament. You seem to think that Wood Elves will not be a defining factor in your games or your experience, and you're not going to even shift much.
Well, I'm not, but I'm slow like that. One thing I find very intriguing, a 3,000 point game, it's not hard to justify that magic item where you can add D3 wounds or D3 woods, and they're citadel woods. They're big, like they're like that. So imagine your opponent putting 4 extra pieces of terrain. You can put woods all across the table, and so you're looking at get into combat and never being steadfast, never counting. I guess you can count ranks in woods, but never being steadfast.
And then they also it gets to be a magical forest too. So what are they going to make it? Every time you get to choose something different. If you're running a heavy cav list, and like like these the dangerous terrain ones, or you could go nuts with the wildwoods or blood forests.
Yeah. And does Venom Thicket, do you get to use that poison when you shoot?
No, you don't. It's close combat only, unfortunately.
Okay. No, fortunately, yeah.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I'm playing.
So you know the terrain at Brawlers is a forest a preset piece of terrain?
There'll be plenty of tables with 1, maybe 2 pieces of forest on there. But the Wood Elves get to place 1, and they could place an extra D3, so there could be 3, 4, 5, 6 woods on that table.
The reason I just can't see that happening is the Citadel woods cost $40 each. So if you want to bring those, and it has to be Citadel because that's what the rules say.
Well,
you're going to spend 140, $160 on.
No. This is what I would do. I would trace the woods onto a piece of wood, cut it out.
You can't.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
It's got to be Citadel.
There's no TO that's going to enforce that stupid.
Oh, as an opponent, maybe I would.
There's going to be a smartass that shows up with woods and just writes Citadel on it and puts it on the table. It's like, no, it's Citadel, man.
Citadel. Fair enough.
Yeah.
It was very vague in the description. But like when you get the Eye of the Gods and turn into a Demon Prince, assuming you have the Games Workshop Demon Prince model, like
Right.
I don't like that they keep including that. Like if you have the Clan Rats, if you have the zombies, if you have the Demon Prince.
Let me ask you this: let's say you're in a tournament game, one that you care enough about, and that happens, and the guy. It's not a matter of having a GW Demon Prince, but he doesn't have a model anywhere close to the right size or anything for a Demon Prince. Do you let him proxy it, or do you say, I'm sticking to the rules here?
How many cannons do I have?
I'd let him proxy it.
I feel like that's where your inner competition comes out, whether you let them use it or not. If you look at it as a casual thing, you're gonna be like, all right, go ahead. But if it's a tournament or something, I could see people like, fuck no, you don't get that.
Yeah,
Screw that.
I feel like I've played against people that would say no, I couldn't do it, but I don't think I'd have the heart to shut a person down like that.
I can tell you, for me, it depends on the game. If it's been a game where it's been real rules is written, everything's tight, and we're being picky on each other, then I'm like, you know what? Let's be picky then. But if the guy's being cool, then I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Put an infantry model down there for all I care.
Next time, don't bring the War Shrine or whatever you use to get that roll.
Yeah.
Right. No, I would be fair about it. I mean, there's so many games where I forget to bring rat swarms, and like if the hell pit dies, I just put a bunch of models down that look at rat swarms, and the guys are usually okay with it. But But the other thing,
my help it never dies, and if it does, it just comes back to life.
the other thing is it's a financial thing. I'm not going to hold against somebody the fact that they weren't willing to pay for another $60 demon prints.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, I have monsters. I'd bring something on it. What, 50 by 50?
Right.
Bring something.
That's true.
Do they get to kit it out as they like? Like, can they give it the Chaos Armor and Demonic Wings?
No,
Demonic
it
Sight?
still has this. If it's like a hero or a lord, it keeps its equipment. So basically, it's like the character only boosted up.
Yeah,
to
but
demon prints.
what about like upgrades? Can you give it?
No, you can't give it those upgrades.
Well, I'm
No,
sure you
okay,
can book
okay.
on your own time there, Tyler.
we are on schedule. Moving on now, we've covered Wood Elves. Okay, so Brawlers Bash. What to expect?
Well, listen, you just got the Warriors book.
No, I did. It's true. I have it at a friend's house right now.
Yeah, that ridiculous $200 army. Oh my gosh.
The last thought I have with the Wood Elves and tournament play is I was on the fence about bringing the Storm Banner, but now that the book's out, I'm just going to keep it in the list.
I hope that you go up against a Wood Elf player, you pop your Storm Banner, and then they go, "Oh, good thing I have those arrows that ignore all modifiers." Pew 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 pew. Your luck.
At first, I liked those, but I'm like, they're still strength 3.
That's why you
They're
need
strength
the
3.
withering.
That's why what?
The withering. Drop that toughness.
No. There's that.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about the magic in the tournaments? Do you feel like that's a big part of the scene? Is that the game changer? I mean, basically, this is a obvious question, but do you feel like the big spells are the game changers?
The game-winning spells, you mean?
I mean,
I guess like hits of shades and stuff like that. Are those? Do you think
Peace sign?
people rely on them too much?
I don't know. I mean, certainly there have been some games they do, but I mean, both players have access to them.
Potentially.
I think, yeah, I think that Magic plays a huge part of the game, but I don't think it's just the Uber spells. I can tell, in my mind, a really good player from a very average one by how they play the Magic phase. Yeah, some people, I think a lot of people just don't know what they're doing.
Would you care to
It's dicey.
elaborate on that?
Well, I think it's, yeah. I mean, you get a sense. I think the average, what I would consider a mediocre player, looks at all these cool spells and they want all of them to go off, and they're taking a lot of chances. They don't have a sense of what really matters, and usually I know what spell matters. And sometimes two spells, either one of them can matter. And so I think players that really know what they're doing, they don't play around with it. They know which spells matter. They just throw 6 dice at it. That's the one that matters. If they rolled poorly for Winds of Magic, let's say they have 9 dice to your opponent's 6, and so if your opponent knows the spell that matters and they can throw 6 dice at it, what do you do to try to make sure you get it anyway? So anyway, I think that just seeing how they allocate dice and in the Magic phase, I think it's huge. It's a huge part of the game.
Do you feel like playing Bretonnians kind of helped lend yourself to understand that a little better? Because with Bretonnians, it's very important with key combats to win. Do you think that's where you've developed your sense of Magic playing, or?
No, it's some of my early. I've only done a few tutorials, but the earlier ones, they were done with a guy who goes by Loki de Trixta, who's just a fantastic player in the Dayton, Ohio area. And he's just sat me down one day and said, "OB, you're stupid. You don't know how to play the Magic part of the game." And he sat down and we talked, and from that conversation, I made that Tactica. And then I just reviewed it sometimes because
To remind yourself.
just because I say it doesn't mean I know it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's my part of the game that's has improved the most in the last couple of years has been the Magic phase. So anyway, but no, I don't think it's just the Uber spell. I mean, until somebody shows up with an Ogre army or Lizardman army and you purple sweat them right off the table. There's that.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's never happened to me.
All right, so we want to move on to Brawlers?
Yes, I would love to hear. When is Brawlers again? Remind me.
It's the 31st of May and the 1st of June. Is that
Okay,
right?
so
It's at the end of the month.
Not much time left. What is your plan to prepare, Nick? What are you gonna do?
A few minor tweaks and play as many 3K games as I can, I guess. I don't know. I'm not too worried about preparing that much because I mean, I don't know. It's only a variation of Scaven lists I've played before, and I'm actually not. I'm not going to be too upset if I lose games because I think getting out of my state and just going somewhere else and playing tournaments and meeting new people is enough for me. Let alone the freaking 8-hour drive with Anthony, which is going to be very entertaining itself. So, but yeah, just a couple tweaks and a few more games. Have you finished? So you don't know what army you're bringing yet, OnceBitten?
I'm 90% sure I'm bringing Empire. Just because Empire has the tools to deal with things you're worried about. Now, whether I grab the right tools is a different story. But you've heard my spiel on Beastmen, and people disagree with that. There's some people that play Beastmen better than I do, and they think they can make them hang. I would throw stuff if I brought my Beastmen. And probably the same with Bretonnia. I think Bretonnia actually could be an underdog. I think that it's a dark horse in that race. I mean, I think it could surprise people. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, going back to Tyler's question about preparation, and I think hopefully you could shed some light on this for me, is there's yet another variable to these games, and those are those random action cards that you can use at the beginning of the game. But what is your take on those, or what have you... I mean, I got to reread them to come up with strategies or when to use them, but how have they panned out for you?
I think it's hugely important to play test them because I forget about them. And I do stupid things that cost me 500 victory points. Yeah, it's big, and I just forget. And I think you should look at your list in consideration of those things. There's some things that if you bring the wrong kind of list, you're really hurting yourself, and it wouldn't take too many changes to grab a lot of extra points in some of them. So I've been playing with them, and I just forget. I get in the heat of the game and I forget. Or conversely, I try so hard to, you're trying to win the game, right? And then I start focusing too much on those damn cards, and I lose the whole game because of it.
Do you guys ever get so caught up in one battle that you forget, kind of lose focus on the whole battle itself? Like just one combat?
No, that's a rookie mistake, Whoopi. We don't do that.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see how it is.
It's probably your giant Forsaken horde, isn't it? You're like, yeah, and then don't notice that like they swept around and took everything else out.
No, I pretty much just throw them up front. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do things around here. But do you want to ask some of Malorian's questions? He has some interesting questions.
I have one to throw out first. This was from a viewer, Thomham, maybe Tom. Tom.
Yeah.
He asked if you had any tips on painting large infantry units. We had Kieran on, and we said to partition. If you have 40 things to paint, maybe split them up into 10s as a way to kind of not get overwhelmed. Do you have any other tips to kind of focus painting?
Well, that's how I do it because I go insane otherwise. The most efficient way to do it is to pick one color, one part of the model and paint all of them, all 40, all 100 of them at the same time. I just can't do it. That's the quickest way to do it. But then again, it's not all about getting it done. You should enjoy it. So yeah, do 10. Do 10. Feel like you made some progress.
That's another thing. Do you feel like you've grown more as a hobbyist than a player?
I think, well, it's funny. When I played this game, when was that? 1998? I played this game for maybe 6 months, and then I didn't play again for many years. And when I first got into it, that's back when Bretonnia and Lizardman were the box set. And I remember showing up to a game store with totally unpainted models and just really put out that everybody there was such snobs about their painting. Because I'm like, I'm into this for the strategy. I like the genre. I don't want to paint. I'm not a painter. and it's funny now because obviously, I mean, you hear me talk. I mean, on my channel. I mean, obviously, I'm not like that now. So I think in that regard, that's the way I've changed the most in the hobby is how much I'm into the aesthetic of it. You know, I just get frustrated. I'm really hard on myself in everything I do. It's just the curse of my life. But I mean, I look at my models and I'm like, I'll have rare moments when I look at my army and say, that's a good looking army. But 99% of the time, I look at it and I'm going, "You're a piece of shit. Why can't you paint like these other people?"
You're too rough.
I totally feel that way.
Yeah.
Totally understand that.
I really
What's
do.
your,
I rip it.
What's your opinion on non-Games Workshop themes in armies? So obviously there's the Brony army, but what about doing maybe a Game of Thrones themed Bretonnian army?
Okay, yeah. I don't know. I have a strong opinion, but then again, I don't think my opinion should mean anything to other people. I really support that idea as long as it fits the genre basically. So I think a Game of Thrones theme I think would be really, really cool. The Brony thing, no, I don't think that's cool. I saw the army. I'm glad the guy had fun. God, I just no. You know, what do you call that? You're a temporary suspension of disbelief. You know, it's like you want to get together and say, okay, we're gonna push around these toys and pretend like we're in this fantasy world, and we kind of play this. We don't play 40K because we kind of like this Lord of the Rings-esque fantasy world. It doesn't have to be exactly the way Games Workshop wrote it, but something along those lines. And when somebody shows, there's a dude who always goes to Buckeye Battles, who just every year he wins the painting award almost every year. He picks an army and he themes it, and it's really, really different. But sometimes he goes off theme. So he did one that was a Beach Boys Orc and Goblin army, and they were all in Bermuda shorts and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, no. I think he did a U.S. Postal Service theme.
Bringing the pain one box at a time.
Yeah. It was it was clever. It was well done. He's a great artist. But my vote would be don't do that. This last year he did dwarfs, and it was beer themed. So they had like Budweiser cans in their hands. I didn't like that necessarily, but it was all about dwarves and beer, and I'm like, I can get into that. That's cool. And he made homemade beer, brought a keg of it, and if you looked at his army, he'd give you a glass of beer, and he won Best Painted.
How many times did you stop by that army to look at it?
I did a couple times because I like beer.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it was really impressive. But anyway, I like alternative ideas, but yeah, keep it in the genre. I mean, that's my vote. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? I mean,
I completely agree with that. The whole reason most people play the game is because they like the fantasy type genre. So if you take it out of the genre itself, it kind of ruins the flavor of it.
Yeah, I thought the My Little Pony army was clever and funny, but like at the end of the day, when it was on the table, I was like, I don't get it. Like, this guy spent all this money on freaking My Little Ponies, which weren't cheap. I found out. Yeah, they were spending like $400 or $500 on that army.
Yeah, a $300 My Little Pony army, when you could have had $300 of cool models to paint. I don't get it.
I don't know. If it stays in the genre, I think I agree. That's what I'd prefer. So, the one army that I really, really liked that I saw at Crossroads was an ogre army converted into troll slayers. Or they had like troll slayer, like mohawks and like axes and stuff. I thought that was really, really cool conversion in theme with Warhammer in general.
So they're just like whole troll slayers. They're just hulking out.
Yeah, they're Ogre Kingdoms models with the giant orange mohawks and the different weapons, and it was really cool. It was really clever.
Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never come up with those clever ideas. You see what some people do, and you're like, wow. I'm like, I just paint them the way I'm supposed to.
I followed the box.
Yeah.
So what is your opinion of non-Games Workshop miniatures at a tournament? Is Brawlers, you have to use Games Workshop models, or?
Oh no.
participate in any tournaments like that? Is that more something in the UK?
I thought the only tournaments that did that were the ones that Workshop used to run. Are there TOs that do that?
I don't think so. I think it's really just GW strictly.
Yeah, I think GW should do that, and I support them doing that. But since they don't run tournaments, they can kiss off. I mean, I really like it when people get outside of that range and with something clever and cool and different. I think there's some good stuff out there.
For sure.
Yeah, it totally surprises me the type of range they find. Like, where the hell did you find these models in the first place? Yeah. Like Nick and his Angel army. Like, how did you just Google up Angel miniatures and?
That's what I did to start, and like, there's so much shit out there. Like, there's this whole other company called Mantic Games, which makes rip-off Warhammer.
Yeah, it's totally straight up just cheaper.
And like, I had no idea it was out there. And here I am looking at like the pseudo empire. There's the great swords. There's the freaking demi-griffs. There's like all these things. I'm like, that's just Warhammer made by another company, and it's cheaper. So why am I not buying those guys?
Mantic elves, Mantic Twilightkin, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it's funny because I like to support Games Workshop because I like that they make the rules. I wish they do a better job of making the rules, but I do like that. But at the same time, I feel that they are exorbitantly priced.
We're not the only ones that think that.
Mantic isn't just cheaper. Mantic is. I would be embarrassed if I was Games Workshop looking at it. And they are really, really cheaper. So, it doesn't cost that much.
Yeah, that's how I filled up my undead army. That was the only way I could afford it, just buying Mantic undead pieces.
Well, I noticed that the Mantic, some of their races, like their dwarfs and their chaos dwarfs, I think are fantastic. I love them. But other ones, like their high elves, I don't really dig. They're a little too skinny.
Yeah, their elves are. I don't like those at all.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens in 5 years when 3D printers and 3D scanners get real cheap, and people just start reproducing the shit at home for free.
I'm just gonna buy one model from Games Workshop and then make my own.
That's true.
So
it's tempting.
Do you guys want to go into Malorian's question real quick?
Yeah,
Malorian, some silly ones.
Malorian gave us a list of questions. One we already asked. What are you taking to Brawlers? At this point, you don't know, but maybe Empire, right?
Probably.
That's just Malorian trying to get the inside scoop.
What's he?
What are you? Who's your general? And
the next question is, if there was an actual brawl at Brawlers, what other YouTuber would you want in your corner?
I don't know about YouTube. There's a guy in my gaming group, Jason, that's former Army Ranger and buff. I'll get out. I'm with him. I'm behind him.
That's something that I found super interesting when I started going to game stores, just seeing the varied shapes and sizes, we'll say, of the wargaming community. That was very. There's a whole spectrum. They're like, oh, that guy must go to the gym, and he also paints small miniatures. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the only other YouTubers that I know are OnceBitten, Malorian, and Anthony that are going to be there. Malorian's just a Canadian, so we all assume he's really, really nice. I don't think I'd want him in my corner.
He can fight because he's Canadian. He will drop gloves and he'll brawl, I'm sure.
Yeah, did you see that episode where he was doing push-ups in the snowman? He's ready. He has all that pent-up Canadian rage that's just ready to explode.
Yeah. We'll say thank you 9 times, but then we'll sock you.
And he's practiced the hand motions when he's doing that. That's just his kung fu,
What about the fact that the amount of profanities and whatnot that come out of Anthony might just make the brawl never happen?
I think that's a lot of talk.
He might just scare the shit out of
New Yorker, yeah. Just.
All right. Question number 3. If you were cornered by aggressive fans, how would you escape?
Pocket sand.
These are the questions the viewers want to know.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, that's Valorian. Yeah. If I were cornered by a bunch of aggressive nerd Warhammer fans, I mean, I would run. I think I'm faster and have more running endurance than most, probably.
Just get that Army Ranger. Lift me.
I just hide behind him again. That's my answer for him. Hide behind the big dude.
Well, if the questions get any weirder, this is it. Which YouTuber do you think is most likely to be an escaped prisoner from an insane asylum?
Oh, that's Anthony. That's not even close.
That was not even. It even has in brackets already the answer.
Didn't skip a beat. He always comments on how much shit we give him. Are we gonna actually have him on the show at some point?
I would love to have Anthony on the show.
I
feel like he's just gonna rage on us.
As a side note, I already messaged him. We could probably get him on next week.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So question number 5: if you were to seek asylum in one of the Warhammer realms, which would you choose, and what would your Warhammer name be?
Yeah. Okay.
Are you a World's Edge Mountain guy, or
would you go to the Empire? Or would you go to the High Elves?
I'd go the High Elves. Ulthuan has got to be the best city. Anywhere.
Oh yeah, by far. Everything else is everywhere. Everything else is decaying and crap. It's like the Warhammer is bleak and depressing if you actually get into it. Like, it's just all on the brink of chaos. It's all dying off, except for Ulthuan, which is just this happy little group of elves.
No, I'm thinking Scaven Blight, because I want to make sure I get murdered right quick.
You don't want to go to Araby?
I don't know much about there.
Kislev? You don't want to go to Kislev? You
Did you read
ride a bear?
I could see being in the woods would be pretty sweet. I'm that kind of guy. I don't like cities.
I don't know if by going to that realm means you were part of that race. Athel Loren, yeah, that'd be cool. I'd just hang out in the forest and they'd probably drink.
Be better than Beastmen.
Yeah, Beastmen. I want to throw shit at each other all day.
I want to make sure that I'm really hairy and covered in shit.
So Nick's coming down. Are you other guys? Are you coming?
I wish I could, but it's just not going to work out this year.
Yeah, financially, I don't think I'm going to be able to.
I'm bringing. So I'm coming down with Anthony, of course, and we have my buddy Chris is going to be traveling with us. So we've got 3 guys coming. So
cool.
Should be fun.
I'm seriously tempted to start attending other tournaments in other parts of the country, because here in the tournaments, a lot of times I do play the same people a lot, and I'm flying enough for work that I can fly for free. So it's not a big deal to jump on a plane somewhere.
That's cool. Well, the New England scene, there's a lot of different tournaments going on. So between New York, Connecticut, and just those 2, I think.
Well, I'll be spending the next 2 years in Old England, so maybe I'll be doing some tournaments over there.
What part of the UK?
At this point, it's going to be somewhere within about an hour of London. That just seems to be where the teaching agency has kind of given me opportunity to meet principals from. So, London-ish area.
That's great. That's great because I go there. So you can load me an army. When I'm in, we can get together and play.
That would be awesome. Then I'll need to bring 2 armies. So.
Yep. Take 2, just in case I show up.
Yeah.
Well, Tyler was debating on bringing none and just using other people's.
Yeah, I had a lot of people say "Oh, come by, you can do a battle." So I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'll just hop from one group to another."
See, I think this is a kind of an interesting question. Do you think there's a big difference between American players and the UK players, just in mentality and mood, or just even foreign players in general?
From what I understand, the accents are different.
Well, OnceBitten, you've been over there playing, right?
Yeah. So my sample size is small. The guy, there's some guys that swung by my hotel, picked me up, and took me to a gaming center and played, and they were just for fun players, man. It was all about the fun, and so I get the impression there that even a lot of the people that go to tournaments, there's some very serious tournament players, but I think there's a lot more that people go to tournaments just to enjoy it. Maybe more so than here, but maybe not. I think that the gamer stereotype is a little bit more true in the U.S. than it was there. I didn't see a whole lot of stereotypical gamers. I don't, whatever that is. I didn't see a lot there.
I feel like we all know what it is. We're just not going to say it out loud.
Just in case of representing the viewers. There you go.
There's one guy that's like, "Fuck you, I'm him."
He knows exactly who we're talking about. Steve. Well, Nick. So now we can get serious. So that's basically all the questions that we had brought to us. How are you feeling for Brawlers? Do you have a plan? Are you going to are you planning to go for the win, or just kind of get a couple and have a good time?
No, I really want to finish in the top 10, and that's a tall order for Brawler Bash. There's a lot of players there. I'm not feeling confident right now. I really enjoy playtesting for tournaments, so I've been using a lot of different armies. I don't know that that's helping me, but I know that the Empire list that I was thinking about taking right at the moment, I'm thinking I don't know, it's not working for me.
And Carl Franz?
Yeah. I don't know why it's not working for me, because I like it. I like it on paper. But so I don't know. I'm trying to change my attitude about it and say just go in and have fun. That was my attitude last year. I don't know if you remember last year. Malorian came and stayed with me.
Yeah.
He's actually doing that again this year. He's staying with us again. And
you had him once, and you're doing it again.
Yeah. I introduced him to martinis. I don't think he'd ever had a martini before.
He just drinks Sambuca from a big glass.
But it was funny because we were talking. He was saying, "I'm a little bit nervous because I feel like I need to perform pretty well. I don't want my viewers to think that I just totally suck." And I was like, "Nah, man, this is all good. Just go and have fun." So I don't do that well, and he kicks butt. And I come back, and ever since then I'm like, "Screw that. There's no more having fun in these tournaments. I want to do more than that."
Yeah, you can't have fun when there's so many other of the YouTubers around.
Yeah, it's just a competition between us. I didn't know there was, but Malorian
for sure
announced himself the winner last year. So
he would, yeah.
So Brawlers has grudge matches. Is that correct?
Yeah. So your first game of the tournament could be against a person of your choosing.
Do you have one lined up?
Are you doing Lord Inquisitor?
Oh hell no. I would.
Oh
no.
Those are like my favorite battles.
No, they're some of my favorite battles. I want to play him in friendly games, not in tournaments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That guy's won 6 GTs. He's not somebody I want to sign up to play first round of the tournament. I'm looking for somebody it's their third game playing Warhammer.
Scratch match versus my son.
Yeah, I would take that. Matter of fact, I should sign my son up just for that. Just to give me
It's like he played the first game, got massacred, and then left. It was so weird.
This is what you get for failing your chemistry test.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that of lining up the first game, getting a grudge with somebody that they consistently beat.
That's the time that the dice go against them, though.
Yeah, true enough.
Do you speak with Lord Inquisitor much, or just kind of see him at tournaments?
We're in the same gaming group.
Yeah, okay. Is he bringing ogres again?
As far as I know. That sounds is technically true in the same gaming group, but we live 4 hours away from each other, so it's not like we play on the weekends. But I'm as far as I know, he's bringing ogres. So
he's got a nice army, for sure.
So
yeah.
How far are we into it, Nick? How much time do we got left?
We're about an hour 10.
I guess I was gonna ask, since you've been playing the longest, what do you think drives people to play the game? Do you think it's the fantasy? Do you think it's because people get a competition outlet out of it? I guess, what's your perspective? Why do you fundamentally play the game?
I really don't know why others play the game. For me, I can tell you I've always loved strategy games. Like growing up, nobody in my family played games, man. I played Monopoly against myself. Like nobody would play me games. And so, like Axis and Allies, if you ever play that, I love that game. I like stuff like that. I can get into chess. So I really like that. But what I like about Warhammer is it feels like there's something I love the genre. I like that when I put together and paint and build an army, that I have it.
Yes.
Like it moves forward with me. It's not like Axis and Allies. You just have these generic pieces and they go back in the box. So I like the kind of the customization of it too. I kind of like that. Now I have 4 armies built up. I'm like, I don't know. There's something that's kind of cool about that.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate creation and strategy game. I felt like when I first started, I think.
Yeah, and I guess I kind of have this vision, if I had enough storage space, of having like 8 or 9 armies with like 10,000 points each, so I could just run in and build any list I want.
Just
so go ahead, Tyler.
No, I'm just gonna say something stupid.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, do you think do you like the larger games better, like the 3,000 point games, or do you feel like those are more daunting?
No, I love them. The most fun games I've had, almost all of them have been larger games, because there's just a lot more going on. If the game gets too large, what I don't like is it devolves into a couple normal size games. And I think if the game gets too big, it favors armies that don't need their leadership and the reroll as much as other armies do. Like, I think warriors do fantastic. They can spread out as much as they want. They just kill stuff. But I think 3,000 points is a real sweet spot. 3,000 points, no grand armies. I don't know. I like it. There's enough stuff out there. A lot of different things going on. Usually, in the course of the battle, you have 3 different combats. I mean, I really like it.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I agree with that.
As far as, we now have the new Wood Elf book, which just leaves us with Beastman, Bretonia, and Scaven left to get a hardcover book. If you had the opportunity to redo either Bretonia or Beastman, what are some things that you'd want to see in the book as you play both of them?
Okay, so Beastmen just need more variety. I'll start with them. The Primal Fury thing, I think, was a great rule to have. Giving them crappy ambush rules. Beastmen were known for being the ambush army, and now they have the worst ambush rules in the book. I think Beastmen was, at its base, a decent idea. I think most every army should have access to most, if not all, of the phases of the game. So, I don't know. I think they need to have Beastmen just get a few more tools to deal with things they're going to encounter. So even something like the Bretonians have the Falcon Horn, where you can, like, your opponent can't fly. Like, even something like that would really go a long way.
Right.
So if they redid Beastmen, I'd say, keep the Primal Fury. Like, why do you give so much love to Dark Elves and then you do stuff like Senegors that just suck?
Senegors are going to be the new hotness in the book.
Yeah.
They move at 9 attacks each.
Right. Or the whole rare section is just so awful. It's like, why do you hate some armies? I mean, ideally, we would like every book to be as equal as possible in power, and every unit in every book to be as equal as possible in power. That way you could have some real variety. But, man, jeez. Yeah. Bretonia, I don't know how to fix Bretonia. They need more tools. They need more variety. You do get tired of. I don't know if you guys notice this, but if I put up a Bretonia battle report, a lot of times people leave comments like, "Oh, the same old Bretonian list." I mean, what the hell do you want me to do? There are knights and there are peasants. And that's all I got. That's it.
Yeah. Which type of knight do you want me to use? There's like 3 that are basically the same.
Yeah, the differences are very, very subtle. And when I'm feeling crazy, I'll take questing knights. I mean,
whoa.
Yeah. I feel they need variety without making them. I'm not the originator of this thought. I wish they would have thought about Bretonia and Empire in tandem, and I wish that Bretonia could have been much more magic focused, and Empire would be more technology focused.
Right.
Or if not magic, maybe magic can be equal, but maybe Bretonia is more religion focused, and Empire is more technology focused. Something like that would give a different flavor to both of those armies, and would have been very cool. But they kind of gave everything to Empire. I mean, Empire is about as flexible as you can get in terms of an army book. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I feel like Empire is one of those movies you can get lost in trying to cover all your angles.
oh yeah, 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 no doubt about that.
What do you guys got anything?
In one sentence or less, your thoughts on Scaven?
What is your opinion of cannons?
Yeah, Skaven's brutal, man. It's so funny though, because I don't mind all the rats. Everybody, I hear people go, "Oh, you can bring 100 clan rats." Ah, whatever. I don't care. It's just some of the things you're just like, really, really, freaking warp lightning cannon, freaking hell pit abomination. The only thing that holds me back from hating Skaven the way other people do, like Anthony. Oh my god. The only thing that holds me back is I've actually been pretty good. My win-loss record is pretty high against him, and I don't know if that's just luck.
I think that's just a sign of a good battle reporter, and maybe a no jab at Anthony. But
That's a total jab.
no. As somebody like Nick and I say that we play Skaven, and so that it's and you said it too. When you play an army, you can see their weaknesses maybe a little bit better, and if you're only playing in Scaven and getting demolished by that crazy stuff, you're not experiencing the other side where we have more games than you with Scaven. We've had the games where our shit doesn't work and we just crumble apart. So it's all anecdotal experience for the most part, unless you're actually bringing them every time and can have that large sample size.
Yeah. The thing I don't like about Skaven, the book, is that it's one of those books that if the dice go one way, they can win or lose, and it doesn't matter what you do against them. And I'm not saying that happens every game. I'm saying it can happen. There are some games where you're like, why did I even show up? They were going to win or lose without me. There's,
We just appreciate you putting your pretty models down for us to shoot.
Yeah.
I think it just sucks when you have to play them and play against them in a tournament, because they'll give you a hard time, but the Skaven player themselves, just like most Orc and Goblins, they won't end up winning tournaments just based on the fact that there's going to be the one game where you fail all your animosity tests or all your shit blows up and kills your own guys. Like, there's just that chance.
Yeah, they're there just to ruin your chances.
That's
It's just a dirty rat.
what I'm thinking about, and Brawlers, correct me if I'm wrong, is based purely on victory points, like killing.
It's killing, and I say that all the time. That's not exactly
plus cards.
True. Plus cards, so you can get up to 5,000 points.
Yeah. So one of the issues I see with a couple of the armies I'm using, and like I play Scaven and I play Wood Elves and a couple other things, but I find that I can get wins against my friends while I'm just in the gaming room, but they're not the massacre tabling wins, especially not with Scaven. I am rarely ever, I don't know if I've ever actually tabled anyone using my Scaven. I'll win the game, and basically they'll be upset and they'll have given up because they're far behind, but I'm not going to get all those points, so even if I do get a win, it won't be that huge massacre that is required to kind of get that high placement. So not only do they have the opportunity or the chance that their army just falls apart, you're also not getting the big wins that you need for the top tables.
Yeah, I think the design of the tournament dictates the kind of lists people bring, and I think what they bring are 1 or 2 units that kill everything they touch, and then the kind of units that go around and mop up. So that's why I think you're going to see Dark Elves, Warriors of Chaos, possibly like the High Elf build. I think those are the kind of lists that you're going to see a lot, and you'll see other lists because people are just going to bring them and play it, and that's what they do. Like Nick's saying, I play Skaven. That's what I'm going to bring, and he could win it with Skaven. I'm not saying he couldn't. I'm saying that's not going to be typical army that people bring when they say I need to table my opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see myself winning this tournament because I altered my list to have some things offensive, and even that I'm like, yeah, I got 2 hell pits, but like Storm Vermin, I don't see them destroying shit like I like other things in the different armies, and I think Skaven in general is just more points denial than it is clean up and mop up and do damage.
For sure.
points denial lists make me furious when I think about Brawler Bash because I'm like, man, you're just being a dick. Because you're just making sure that I don't get points out of this game. You know?
As we just said, Nick is saying. Not that you're a dick. Not that you're a dick. Just people just like you are dicks.
Come kill my 60 guys in Screaming Bell that aren't going to go anywhere and you can't kill.
Make sure to turn to the flank so he can't kill your Screaming Bell.
That I can't stomach doing. I feel like a total ass doing that. But,
well, does anyone know what Anthony's bringing? Is he set on Bretonia?
He said at the beginning of the year, from in on out, it's Bretonia until the new book.
Cool.
So,
I like his resolve.
Yep. I'm looking forward to giving him shit for 8 hours on the way down.
That's a long time to give someone shit.
He's probably just going to give you shit for Scaven.
Yeah.
It's like, you're giving me shit. You play fucking Scaven.
I want you to record 8 hours of him complaining about Scaven. And you know what else is wrong about Scaven? I think he's exhausted his supply of complaints, I think.
Yeah. So.
Do you guys feel like the first army you play lends a lot to the style of how you play? Because OnceBitten, I noticed in your games, you really like to bring the battle to the opponent. And I don't know if that's from just playing Bretonians so much, but me, I play Dwarves, so my natural instinct is to castle up. Do you guys feel like it lends to the style of play, or do you have to break the habit?
I think you have to break your habit, and every army plays differently. So if you can't adjust your own style, like if I take my Wood Elf MSU list and go in with my Scaven idea of, I'm going to just sit here and you'll crash into me, and no, it won't work. So you have to adjust, and whatever list you decide to go with is going to have some sort of different play style you have to figure out.
I think I'm biased in that regard. When I got back in the hobby, I was playing High Elves, and there's a guy that consistently beat me, and I figured with High Elves, a lot of the games I had my opponents slightly outranged, and as long as I do slightly outranged, then you had to come to me, and so I would just kind of sit back, make you come to me, and then we would go at it from there, and I wasn't as successful as I later became with him, but this guy, he said, he goes, you should just move out there, try it. And don't, instead of just sitting there because you have them outranged, move out there and cause some things to happen anyway. And so it was like a leap of faith for me just to start moving stuff out. And as soon as I did, I found that my opponent was having to make difficult decisions. I had opportunities where I might be able to flank charge him, or he couldn't do whatever he wanted because otherwise, if I was just sitting back, he could. So now I try to play that way. As almost as a matter of faith, so to speak, like it works. But sometimes, like with my Empire Light Council, it's like it just doesn't make sense. Like when I move out there, and I lose games because I move out there sometimes, and people get the jump on me before I had a chance to kill something that needs to be killed. I think that's my biggest struggle with the Light Council. So, anyway, I think even with dwarfs, I think you should, in practice games, force yourself to do things that are uncomfortable. Move out there and try it, just because I think you'll learn some things that make you a better dwarf player. I could be wrong. But.
That's one thing I had to force myself to do, and that's also kind of why I started playing the Warriors of Chaos, just so I could be more mobile, and I love those more mobile armies because I've been playing dwarves so long that it's like, oh my gosh, I can move 9 inches? What the fuck?
It's so far.
Oh, it's amazing. Fast cavalry? What?
Yeah. One of the things I noticed, and I've been trying to tell my High Elf friend, if you don't move forward, you can't fall back. And he's leaving himself in his deployment zone, and eventually he's just getting run down without anywhere to run. So you have to make yourself some room to actually do your maneuvers in. But that's
I would have to say, like, the movement phase seems like the most probably the movement phase and the magic phase are equal maybe, but it's a big part of the game, setting up things and just making sure your angles are right. That's like one of the biggest parts of the game.
For sure.
Well, especially if you play Bretonia or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Or Warriors of Chaos, when it's not just about moving into combat, but getting the combats you want.
and figuring out the range that you can charge in without failing.
Yeah, well,
What do you know about that, OnceBitten?
yeah, sometimes.
What's your new range? Apparently, a 6 is too far.
Yeah, I'm afraid to be 7 inches away because. Yeah.
You could get those double ones.
I made the same transitions as Dylan. I started with dwarves, and then I went to Warriors of Chaos. And when I did, I didn't know how to play the movement phase, and I didn't know how to use magic, and I had to adjust. And from there, I think I started to learn a lot more about the game.
Yeah, because the dwarves are missing like 2 huge parts of the game, like the movement phase and the magic phase. So it's something you have to learn, and once you learn it, I think that's maybe why people avoid the dwarves probably, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. So anything?
Not sure
else?
where I was going. But
No, I understand what you're saying. Anything else from anyone before we wrap it up? I feel like we've gone on for quite a bit now.
Yeah,
No,
we're
I'm good.
reaching about the hour and a half.
Okay. All right. Well, OnceBitten, I really appreciate you coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun.
Sure. And I think, Dylan, are you going to be doing an after hours on your channel?
me on my
Dylan-
channel?
Oh,
Dylan,
sorry,
are
on
you
Tyler.
doing
On
something?
Tyler.
It's like, wait, I don't have viewers. What?
This is the 7th week. We are almost at 2 months, and he doesn't know my name.
Sorry, Tyler.
Yeah, I'll be doing an after hours. OB,
Okay.
you're more than welcome to stick around if you've got. I know it's probably 10:30 where you are as well, so if you want to jet, by all means. But the after hours is a lot less structured. It's similar to a group paint-a-sode kind of thing.
Okay. No, I'm going to bed.
Yeah,
Some of us have to work in the morning.
I do as well.
All right. So thank you for watching, and tune over on Tyler's channel as we paint and chill out for a bit longer. All right. Thanks, everyone.